Hi, all my students. How are you all going? How is the studies going on? Good. And how's your literature going on? I hope you all are doing well. Please do refer to my modules of Julius Caesar and the various poems that I have already put up on YouTube. Well, today I'm going to start with a new poem with you all, and today it's going to be I Remember. So let's open your textbooks to I Remember by Thomas Hood. It is on page number 13. So let's start. We'll begin with the reading of the poem first. Okay? About the poet, we'll read later on. First, we'll begin with the poem, which is on page number 14. I Remember by Thomas Hood. I remember the house where I was born, the little window where the sun came peeping in at morn. He never came a wink too soon, nor brought too long a day. But now I often wish the night had borne my breath away. I remember the roses red and white, the violets and the lily cups, those flowers made of light, the lilacs where the robin built, and where my brother sat, the laburnum on his birthday. The tree is living yet. I remember where I used to swing and thought the air must rush as fresh to swallows on the wings. My spirits flew in feathers then, that is so heavy now, and summer pools could hardly cool the fever on my brow. I remember the fir trees dark and high. I used to think their slender tops were close against the sky. It was a childish ignorance, but now it is little joy to know I'm farther off from heaven than when I was a boy. Okay, so you must have got the gist of the poem because the words are very simple. Now, as we get the gist of the poem, I would like to introduce you to the poet, and the poet's name is Thomas Hood. We normally have this synopsis given about the poet's life and his works and all, but there is a lot of thing which is not very relevant as far as our present poem is concerned. So I have set up a different introduction of the poet to you. If you want, you can take a copy of it because I will be reading it for the next 5 minutes. This is a copy of the poet. Okay, so let's read about the poet. He was an English poet who was born in London from 23rd May 1799 to 3rd May 1845. He was a journalist and a humorist and a great author who wrote humanitarian verses. Through his writing, he advocated for social reforms, drawing the attention to the plight of the poor. His poems, such as The Song of the Shirt, which was written in 1843, The Song of the Labourer, The Plea of the Midsummer Fairies, which was written in 1827, made him a significant literary social reformer, not only in the history of England, but also in United States, Germany, and Russia, where he was widely translated. He wrote regularly for the London Magazine, the Athenaeum, and the Punch. Never robust means he never used to be good in health. So never robust, he lapsed into a state of invalidism at the age of 41 and died at the age of 45. This poem, I Remember, was first published in 1844. Okay, so that much for the poet. Now, first and foremost, as we begin with an explanation of this poem, I want to draw your attention to the words over here, I remember. So we'll begin with the title, okay? Now, the title itself, you can take notes while I'm teaching. The title itself is very significant. Why is it significant? Because it gives us the entire theme of the poem. The fact that the poet says, I remember, it means he's telling us what he remembers about his childhood or something which has happened in the past. Only then you can say I remember, isn't it? When something you have already experienced and when you are recollecting that, then you will say I remember, I remember. So the title itself tells us what is there in the poem. So that is the first point we know. That is, it is significant as it tells the entire poem is about memories and nostalgia. How do we know it's nostalgia? Because he's remembering it with a lot of happy moments. It's not that he's sad about the past, but he is sad and happy both at the same time. But he has a lot of happy moments to share with us, and then he feels sad that these moments are no longer there with me. So it is about the poem emphasizes on the importance of nostalgia. Okay. Now, the fact that he has repeated this twice. See, children, there are two things. When there is a repetition of words or phrases, you call it, it's a literary device, you all are aware of that. We either call it an anaphora or we call it a repetition. We call it a repetition or a refrain. Now, what is the difference in this anaphora and repetition? I'll just give it to you. If you could please write down that what is the difference. Now, what is a refrain? First of all, you know that a refrain is a group of words which are repeated at certain intervals. Okay, that is what we call as a refrain. Now, similarly, over here when we are trying to distinguish between a refrain is a repetition of words, anaphora is also a repetition of words, then what is the difference in the two? The difference in the two is that their placement, where they are placed in the poem or where they are placed in a particular paragraph, that gives you the difference in the two. Okay, now how is it? In an anaphora, the repetition is always at the beginning of a sentence. So when you're beginning a sentence or a verse, if you're repeating certain words, it's called as an anaphora. And a refrain is a group of words which keep appearing at intervals throughout the poem. So this can be treated as both an anaphora and as a refrain. Now, why am I giving this to you? Because I want you all to understand that in case in your MCQs, if you are asked, you get those choices. Now, in the choice, supposing they have given you the word anaphora, and they have given you other choices, but they have not given you the word refrain, then please mark it as anaphora. Do not lose your mark. Supposing in your MCQs, they have not given you the word anaphora and they give you the word refrain and with other choices, with other literary devices, then mark it as refrain. Okay, do not lose that one mark. So whatever the choice is given to you, whether it is given to you as a choice of anaphora or whether it is given to you as a choice of refrain, please remember that in your MCQ you mark it. Is that very clear? So don't get confused in that. It can be treated as both. Okay, so that much for anaphora and refrain. So I've given you 2 points about the title. I've explained to you what is anaphora and refrain. So first point you can write about the title, that the title is significant as it tells us that the entire poem is about memories and nostalgia. Okay. Second point is that there is that it can either be treated as an anaphora or a refrain, and there is a emphasis on the word that he remembers his past, his childhood. He's remembering his childhood and there is an emphasis on that. Therefore, he has used it twice. Whenever we say something 2 times, it means that we are emphasizing on that particular point. Because of that emphasis that we are laying on it, we use it twice. Otherwise, we can just say it once. The fact that we are saying something 2 times means we are emphasizing on that particular point. Okay? So you can write, repeating twice shows that the emphasis on the importance of memories and the yearning for childhood. He literally yearns for it. To yearn for something is to long for something desperately, to want something. Okay. The usage of, write down, the usage of I, the word I, the alphabet I, the usage of I shows that it is a personal experience. It is not an experience which he has seen from somebody else or, which he has heard from somebody else. It is a personal experience. It is his own experience. So the usage of the word I in the title shows it is a personal experience, and it is a clear introduction to the topic of the poem, that this poem is entirely a personal experience. Therefore the title is very, very relevant. Okay, now that we have read the poem, what is the style of the poem? If you see the style of the poem, it is made up of 4 paragraphs, and these 4 paragraphs, each paragraph has got an octave. What is an octave? An octave is something which has got 8 lines. When I was explaining the sonnet to you, I told you that the octave is a paragraph or a verse of 8 lines. Okay, so each paragraph, it has got 4 paragraphs, and each paragraph is an octave. So there are 8 lines in each of these paragraphs. If you count them, you'll come to know. So that is the first thing. Now I'm going to teach you how to find out the rhyming scheme. Normally in the books, in whichever digests, etc. you are reading, you will see that they'll just give you that this is the rhyming scheme. But how do you find the rhyming scheme? Because sometimes we tend to forget that, oh, what is the rhyming scheme I had learnt in this poem? What did I learn in that poem? So you may not be able to learn the rhyming scheme by heart. So I'm going to teach you how to find the rhyming scheme of a particular poem. Okay, we'll begin with the first paragraph. I'm drawing your attention to the first paragraph. Now see, read with me in your minds, okay? I remember the house where I was born, the little window where the sun came peeping in at morn. So can you find any 2 rhymings over here which are same? Yes, born and morn. So you start alphabeting. Okay, start giving alphabets. The first line you call as A. I remember. Then the house where I was born is not matching with A, so you alphabet it as B. Okay, the little window where the sun. Now that is not matching with any of the above 2 lines. So you give it a new alphabet and you call it C. Okay, then we come to came peeping in at morn. Now morn matches with born. So what is the alphabet you have given to born? B, correct? So with morn you write B. You don't give it a new alphabet because it is matching with B. So what have we got in the scheme over here? A, B, C, B. Correct? That is a scheme so far. Now we come to the next line. He never came a wink too soon. Now does it match with anything? No, it doesn't rhyme with anything. So give it a new alphabet, and that new alphabet will be D. Okay. So we give it a new alphabet. We got one more alphabet. Now, nor brought too long a day. Does it match with anything? Nothing. So you give it a new alphabet. You call it E. Then we come to, but now I often wish the night. Now does this match with anything? No. So you give it the alphabet F. We are giving new alphabets. Whenever something doesn't match, you give it the alphabet F. Now, had borne my breath away. Now, does away match with anything? Yes, it matches with day. What is the alphabet you have written next to day? E. Correct? So, this will be E. Now, you see in your own textbook, what is the rhyming scheme that you have got? We have got A, B, C, B, D, E, F, E. Correct? That is the rhyming scheme we have got. Now you apply this same rhyming scheme to the next paragraph. You again have I remember A, then white will be B, then again C, then light matches with white, so it will again become B. Then we have built, which is not matching, so D. Then you have set, which is not matching with anything, so E. Now day, which is not matching with anything, so F. And living yet is matching with set, so that is number alphabet E. So we again get E. So you saw we get the same rhyming scheme over here. So the rhyming scheme over here will be A, B, C, B, D, E, F, E. Now that is a rhyming scheme. Now I chose this particular poem to explain to you how to get the rhyming scheme. This is a very long process actually. It takes a lot of time. That is why most of the children learn by heart. That is why you learn the rhyming scheme by heart. And the reason I have taken this poem for explaining how to find the rhyming scheme to you all is because it has got a complete octave. So when you have a complete octave, a sonnet also will have an octave and a sestate. So when you have a a complete octave, you know how to find the rhyming scheme, then whichever poem you're dealing with, it will be very easy for you to find the rhyming scheme. Octave would be little difficult because it has got 8 lines. So have you understood? This is how you find out the rhyming scheme. So now for the style of the poem, I have explained to you how to find the rhyming scheme. In case you get a question for that 1 mark, and if that 1 mark, every single mark is very, very important. So you should know, it should not be that you left out a question because you didn't understand or you didn't know the methodology. Do not lose marks because somebody has not taught you. Okay, if you don't remember, apply the scheme and find the rhyming scheme, so that 1 mark is very important and you get it. Okay, so you don't lose a single mark for your MCQs, right? Okay, so now we come to the style. So the first thing is the style. I've explained to you the rhyming scheme. We also come to the style. What is the style of the poem? It is given in first person. How is it first person? Because it is I remember. So I is first person, correct? So if I is first person and it is a narrative, he is narrating something. No, the poet and the narrator are the same people. So he is giving you a narration. So the first one is I. So I remember. So it is the first person narrative. Okay, so that is the second thing. Then what is the form and structure? I explained to you. There are 4 equal stanzas. So for form and structure, you write this, that there are 4 equal stanzas. Each stanza is an octave. An octave means it has got 8 lines. Okay, so we have got all the things about the style with the same rhyming scheme and all the stanzas. Now we come to the setting of the poem. Now, before I actually discuss the setting, I'll explain the poem to you in short because, in detail, we've already read it and you must have understood, but just a few meanings and a few imagery which has been used, because when we are discussing style, we normally discuss the imagery and the literary devices used by the poet. So now I'll come to the style of the poem, to discussing the poem in detail so that we can see the literary devices as we go on. Right? So let's start. I remember. This can also be called as an anaphora. Okay. I told you what's an anaphora. It's a repetition of words. The house where I was born, the little window where the sun came peeping in at morn. Now this is very simple to understand. But what is the literary device used over here? If you have guessed it, if you have not guessed it, it is personification. The sun, S-U-N, sun, has been personified as a human being. And you can so he has used visual imagery over here. Please mention he has used visual imagery also. Okay, he has used visual imagery and there is personification. Visual imagery, why? Because you can literally feel that there is a door, and in that door, the sun, he is slowly just coming out and peeping into the house. Okay, so it's a personification, as if a human being is peeping into your house. Similarly, the sun is peeping into his house. From where? From the little window. Okay, so the house where I was born, the little window, he remembers that little window where the sun came peeping in at morn. He never came a wink too soon. Means the sun was very predictable. That is going to come at this particular time only. He never came soon. He never came late. He never brought a very long day. He brought a usual day. But now, I often wish the night had borne my breath away. So here we find the poet. He begins on a very good note, and then the paragraph ends with a nostalgia, with a little sadness, that with a sad negative thought in his mind, where he feels that I wish that I would not have seen that sun coming in at my window, and I wish that the night had borne my breath away. Means borne means carried. Okay, B-O-R-N-E, born. So he's saying, I wish that the night had carried my breath away. So he's saying, I wish I hadn't lived only. Okay. So he ends on a slight negative note. Second paragraph. I remember. Now in this paragraph, the poet is remembering the time when he had the time to appreciate the beauty of nature. Because see, here he's talking about all nature. Look here. I remember the roses red and white, the violets and the lily cups, those flowers made of light. The lilacs where the robin built, and where my brother set the laburnum on his birthday, the tree is living yet. So here this entire paragraph we find that he is thinking about the time when he had the time to appreciate the beauty of nature. You know what happens is when you grow up you don't have time to there was another poem which I had taught earlier to my ICSE students, where we said what is this life if full of care, we have no time to stand and stare. So as you grow older, there are so many responsibilities on your shoulders that you just don't have time to stand and appreciate the beauty of nature. So it sort of echoes that same thought, which was given by that poet. What is this life if full of care, we have no time to stand and stare. Okay, so he's saying the same thing over here, that I still remember those roses red and white, and I remember the tree, the laburnum tree, which my laburnum tree, it's a huge tree. You might have seen it even in the cities. It's found even in our cities. At least in Mumbai, where I am staying, we find a lot of laburnum trees. In fact, we have an entire road which is called as a laburnum road in Mumbai. So laburnum is a huge tree. It grows up, and then there are a lot of yellow flowers which are hanging on that tree, and then they drop those yellow flowers on the road. Okay, so it is a laburnum tree that his brother had planted. Okay, so he remembers all that. Now you mark the words over here. Roses and red, both are beginning with R, so it is an alliteration. The figure of speech used over here is alliteration. And what are violets? If you have seen those small flowers which are blue or purple in color, and they've got a little bit of white design in them. You must have seen them. They look like a bell, and they've got blue, and they're either blue or they are purple color with white designs in them. So those are those small flowers, okay? And the lily cups, those flowers made of light. Now what is he saying? Why is he saying the flowers are made of light? Can flowers ever be made of light? No. But he has used this metaphor over here because he's trying to explain to us that those flowers, they were so delicate, to show the delicacy of the flowers, and how delicate they were. It's an indirect comparison. It's like a light. When you see a beam of light coming in through your window, if you see sunlight coming in through your window, and you can just touch it, and all those dust particles will just move off. It's like as if you're breaking the beam of light. It's so delicate. So same way these flowers, they were so delicate that he thought that they were made of light. Okay, so I thought that those flowers made of light. Those lilacs were the robin bin. Lilacs are also lily flowers. So he's saying in those lilacs, robins are small birds. They are birds. Okay, so the robin, now he's from London, so they have robins over there. So he's saying the lilacs where the robin built, and where my brother set the laburnum tree on his birthday. And then he's saying that laburnum tree is still living. Okay, you got it. So this piece where my brother said the laburnum on it, this is again nostalgia, thinking about your past with a sigh that so it's happy memory. Okay, third paragraph. I remember where I was used to swing, and thought the air must rush as fresh to the swallows on the wing. Now what is he comparing over here? He remembers that there was a swing, and when he used to swing on that, when he used to swing on the swing, he felt the air fresh. It's like, when you're on a swing, you go up and then you come down like that. So you come down with the wind, isn't it? So he said that I felt when I was on the swing that I was like a swallow bird. A swallow bird is similar to the sparrows that we have in India. Okay, we have small sparrows in India. So a swallow is a small sparrow-like bird, but which is found in London. So he says, I remember those swallows, that when the swallows were coming down and the air was going through their wings so that they could fly. Without the air, the wings won't fly. So similarly, he's saying when I came down the swing, I felt that the air was filling in my wings like it fill in the swallow's wings. Okay. So here there is a simile. Over here, what has he used? And thought the air must rush as fresh. He has used the word as. for fresh. The air, he has compared air to being fresh. Okay, so the word as has been used. Rush as fresh to swallows on the wing. So on the wing of the swallows, the way the air came, the same way the air came to me on my swing. Now so one figure of speech over here is simile. There is another figure of speech over here which is called as an enjambment. Write down the spelling. E-N-J-A-M. Jam. E-N-J-A-M. B. Ment. Enjambment. Okay. Now what is the meaning of enjambment? You want to write down the definition? I'll give the definition to you. It is a thought in a verse. Enjambment is, write down this, it's a typical definition. A thought in a verse. You know that we don't change definitions. You cannot, when you are defining something, if you are asked to define something, you are not allowed to change the words of the definition. Enjambment is a thought in a verse that does not end in one line. That does not end in one line, but continues to the next line or verse. So it continues to the next line or verse. That is what we call as an enjambment. A thought which does not end in one line. I have given you the exact definition. If you ever asked to define it, please give the exact words. So over here we find that there is an enjambment. What is the enjambment? The air must rush as fresh to the swallows on the wing. So that thought is broken midway. The sentence is over, but the thought continues into the next line. So that is an example of enjambment. Then, my spirits flew in feathers then, that is so heavy now. So here, first of all, very simple, we have an alliteration. Flew and feathers, F and F. So that is the alliteration. Okay. So my spirit flew in feathers then, that is so heavy now. So here what do we have? What do you understand by this? What is the mood of the poem? Of the poet over here? My spirit flew in feathers then. So what is his mood? He's absolutely carefree, not bothered, not concerned. He is just moving around in the skies. Okay, he's very carefree. So the mood is one of feeling light and carefree. That is so heavy now. So he's saying, but now my spirit is very, very heavy because I have so many worries. I've become an adult. I have so much to do. I have so many responsibilities to cater to. So my spirit is no longer free. Okay. So apart from alliteration and the mood of the poem, these two lines, they also are, he has used a metaphor. What is a metaphor over here? Can you guess? You know what is a metaphor? A metaphor is an indirect comparison between two things. You want to write it down? Please write it down. Those of you who don't have it. A metaphor is an indirect comparison between two things which have similar qualities, but it is indirectly compared. So a metaphor is an indirect comparison between two things which have similar qualities without using the words like or as. So that's a metaphor. Okay, most of you would be knowing, but I just gave it to you. So here there is a metaphorical comparison. What is a metaphorical comparison over here? He has compared his spirit, his soul, his spirit to that of a bird which is flying in the air. So he's saying at that time my spirit was free, it was carefree, and now it has become burdened with with worries and with responsibilities of adulthood. Okay. And summer pools could hardly cool the fever on my brow. He's saying now these summer pools, where you have those pools and all where you go. He's saying these summer pools, even if I go into them, they can hardly cool. They are not able to cool the fever on my brow. What is the fever on his brow? The worry that he is carrying with himself. The water of the pool is not able to cool the worries that he has in his mind. Okay, that is the meaning of this line. The worry-ridden life of an adult Over here, the fever means the worry ridden. RIDDEN. The worry ridden. It's a hyphenated word. The worry ridden life of an adult. So the summer pools could hardly cool. Now, apart from that, so we are continuing with the metaphor. Now, what is the other literary speech, other literary figure used over here? The other figure of speech over here is assonance. You know what is assonance? Assonance is ASSONANCE. Assonance. So he has also used assonance over here. Assonance means when you are repeating a vowel sound. You are repeating a vowel sound. Okay. It is an assonance. So which is the sound repeated over here of the vowels? Which are the vowels? A, E, I, O, U. 5 vowels we have. So which is the vowel repeated over here? O. So when you write 2 O's, you say oo. So here, pool, cool. So this oo, which has been repeated, is an assonance, which cannot cool the fever on his brow. I think I'll end my lecture over here, and even though only one paragraph is left, there is still a lot to discuss in this poem. I was hoping that I could finish it off in one period, but I don't think that's possible because I've just been able to explain to you till this third paragraph. And what I want to do is, I want you all to go through the entire module all over again, this entire lesson that I've given you all over again, and learn everything so that when you come for the next module, you are ready with it. Is that clear with you all? And you know what we are talking next. So I'll call it a day today over here and see you all again in my next module where I'll continue with I remember. Till then, do recapitulate everything and learn it up. Okay, bye.